Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on a nice Saturday evening. Normally, we sometimes are in the afternoon or morning. I like it a lot better on the normal slate in the evening. Works out, I think, better for everybody playing DFS here today with Tim and TJ. TJ, what's going on, dude? Fun little slate tonight. I know you're always in the movies and stuff like that. What do you have going?
I actually was debating on. I have the house to myself right now. My wife and baby are both out of town at the lake with my wife's cousins, and so I actually was debating on heading to a movie tonight, and was thinking about doing a second watch of either Superman or Fantastic Four, but also just got early access to Madden 2026, and it lined up perfectly because I just finished a Road to Glory in College Football 26, and so. In my senior year as a QB, I won the Heisman, I won the national championship, set the national record for touchdown passes in a career. And so now I have this early access to Madden, and I can just import my Road to Glory player right into Madden 26 to be a rookie in the NFL. And so I'm debating, do I want to just lock in, listen to some podcasts and play some Madden tonight, or do I want to go to the movie theater for a nice little solo movie? So depends. I haven't quite decided yet, but a fun night ahead of me either way.
Many choices for TJ, but Tim, I think he needs to up the difficulty on his CFB 26. Correct? If he's setting records, as you know, the difficulty needs to go up, right?
I haven't played video games in a really long time, but I would say he sounds like he definitely has it on easy mode, not MVP.
Oh no, I was on. I didn't put it up to Heisman because College Football 26 is broken, and like I played a game on Heisman and I had 13 dropped passes from my receivers. Not like, oh, they got hit and they didn't quite complete it, like official drops in the stats. And so the Heisman level is just broken. Like you just can't play it. But I was on All-American all the way through.
I'm jealous, TJ. I would like to watch like video games or like turn on a TV for a non-sporting event. I don't know how you manage to do this, but in my life with two kids, it just doesn't. It's literally impossible for me to do things like that. There's not enough time in the day. So I'm very jealous that you get to do that. Tim, what's going on? I think I was with cards. I think Cheese filled in. I think I've missed you guys for the past few weekends together. What's going on?
Yeah, not much, Britt. Always great to do a show with you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a pretty big time slate today. Pretty excited for this one. Only so many weekends left before football. I think college football starts in like 2 weeks. So, I mean, there's only so many more weekend MLB days, but I think this is a really great slate.
Yeah, the CFB team too for projections and all of that are great at RotoGrinders with lineup HQ and all that fun stuff. So don't forget about all of that once college football starts, and of course NFL. Lots going on there. But we've got baseball tonight. Let's CJ, let's bring up TJ, let's bring up the screen share here. And I guess Tim, I'll start with pitching here tonight. And there's a couple basically like 1v1 decisions you got to make, both for your SP1 and probably your SP2. I want to pick your brain on that, see where you're at on those. So let's start at that. And let's start with the expensive pitchers. Let's start with Jacob DeGrom versus Jesus Lazardo as your SP1. You get a $1,500 price difference on DraftKings, on FanDuel. I think there's a reasonable price difference as well here. So factoring all that in, who are you going to be playing tonight?
Yeah, on FanDuel, it's only a $200 difference between DeGrom and Lazardo. But like you said, on DraftKings, it is a $1,500 price discrepancy. So, you know, right now, I currently have Lazardo over DeGrom. You could play them both conceivably, but I think you'd be kind of giving up, you know, a lot of firepower with your bats. So right now, I actually just have Lazardo in my cash game team and my primary single entry team, just because of the difference in matchup seems pretty drastic. The Phillies are pretty decent against right-handed pitchers, and the Rangers are awful against lefties. And of course, there's that big price difference too. So I think Lazardo is pretty clearly my favorite overall pitcher. Now, he's only projected for about one fewer point than DeGrom, just straight up in the bat projections. So I think the bat's kind of in line with that take as well. I'm still getting to a lot of optimals with DeGrom in it. So if people disagree and want to play DeGrom, I don't really necessarily have a problem with that. But I'm currently going Lazardo and some of these cheaper guys as my SP2 that we can talk about. But I think that first decision between DeGrom and Lazardo, it's going to be Lazardo for me on both sites.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm staring at Lazardo on DraftKings, and I'm not staring at either one of those on FanDuel. So we'll talk about that maybe in the SB2s. Tim, I'll stick with you. Diced it up. Lazardo over to Grom, I think, for both of us. We'll get to TJ for some tournament thoughts on that in just a second. But for your single entries, your cash games, you need someone to pair with him. You've got maybe I'll throw a trio out there. You've got Blake Snell, who, if you knew he wasn't going to walk anybody, and Toronto, Toronto was red hot because they played in Colorado. Maybe they cooled off a little bit last night against Kershaw. It's another lefty after Kershaw last night. But I think most people are going to be looking at Eduardo Rodriguez enter pitcher against the Rockies, and then semi-enter pitcher against the White Sox. You've got Cantillo from the Guardians, who has some strikeout upside too. So if we're pairing one of the expensive pitchers with one of the mid-tier pitchers, I think most people are looking at Rodriguez or Cantillo. Would you agree with me on that? And then who's your favorite?
Yeah, I don't even know if I would necessarily include Blake Snell in that group, but I mean, I get it. I understand why. I'm kind of surprised. I think the last run we had Blake Snell at 24%. I hope he's that high owned. I don't really have any interest in him at all. And obviously, you could definitely throw out Michael King as well. I would definitely not play him in any format just because he's not going to get the pitch count. He's projected for like 70 pitches at 9,700. That's just not enough pitches at that price point. So I currently have Erod at 7,900 on DraftKings. I could completely understand if people want to go Cantillo at 77. I've got really no issue with that. But I just like to stream against Colorado. So it's just, I'm going to continue doing that with Erod. I do think one pitcher that I would maybe include in this little grouping is Sandy Alcantara. I know that he has not been as good as years past, but this Atlanta team is they just really struggle. And Alcantara, I don't think is going to be that popular. So he would be the guy that I would throw into that trio in like large field GPPs. Maybe I'm obviously not going to play him in cash. I wouldn't necessarily pitch him in single entry, but if you're building out, say, 8, 9, 10 teams or so, you could throw in a couple of Alcantaras in there. And I think that would be completely fine against this struggling Atlanta team.
So I'm in lockstep with you. I got Lazardo. I got Erod. I do like Cantillo quite a bit. I think I bet his overprop on strikeouts tonight. But I'm with you on that for like main teams, cash teams, stuff like that. Let's get TJ in here for some tournament thoughts. Where do you stand if Lazardo is going to be, 40% with DeGrom at 25%, TJ factoring that in? What are you doing in MME? Who's your favorite there? Do you have a favorite between Rodriguez and Cantillo, who I think are probably going to buy for SB3 and 4 on the slate?
I certainly like Cantillo a lot better than Rodriguez. Like, I'm much higher on Cantillo today than Rodriguez. But I'll be playing both of them. I do think like I differ from you guys a little bit on like a cash setting. I think there's just not that much to spend up for outside of Ohtani. And so I'd likely go Lazardo and DeGrom together in that setting. But in tournaments, I'm not going to play any of them. I'm going to fade Lazardo. I'm going to fade DeGrom. I'm going to fade Blake Snell. And I'm just going to pitch these cheaper options thinking that I don't think Lazardo or DeGrom get us more than like 23, 24 points today. And I think I can get 17, 18 from some of these pitcher ones and end up with a nicer lineup today. And so I'm actually going to be just a very recent decision. But looking at that Texas lineup and, Seager's the only lefty in there today, where earlier in the day it was looking like there was going to be 4 or 5. And so I'm not going to be playing any of these expensive pitchers today. Actually, Noah Cameron is the highest priced guy on my board. I like to typically on the weekends do some lower dollar, higher risk stuff. And that's kind of what I'm doing today.
All right. So if you're not playing the expensive guys, and you have the Cantillos, the Erods, the Camerons, probably Alcantara too, I would have mentioned. If Tim likes him, you're probably on him as well. There's a lot of guys. If I scroll down here, there's like 10 straight up no's for me today. Like, guys, I wouldn't even have in my pool. What's like the cutoff for you? Who are some of the bottom tier guys you're looking at to add into the pool?
Yeah, so some cheap options I'm looking to get to are Alcantara is definitely my favorite. Like I have just been targeting Tim and I have been on a lot of shows lately together, so he knows anytime a pitcher's been facing the Braves lately, I've just been loading up on them because they have been, just scuffling. And so I really love the Alcantara call. Cantillo is going to be my favorite. He's going to be my highest owned, but it'll probably be a pretty even split between Alcantara and Cantillo as my 1 and 2. Eduardo Rodriguez and, the super cheap options like Joe Boyle and Jack Perkins, probably next up there on my list, and then Noah Cameron right there after that. So that's kind of where I'm looking to lean today. Somebody like, Lucas Giolito, I don't think is awful. Chris Bassett, but what's the point? They're probably going to have about 15 points. And I think I can get that from somebody a little bit cheaper today.
Yeah, Giolito, I see the chat's talking about him a lot too, but I mean, against the Padres, Tim, is he someone he's got a strikeout prop of 4.5 and the overs plus money? I mean, there's not huge, Scooble, Skeens, these guys aren't on the slate tonight, so we're not going in expecting 30 plus fantasy points that you're going to need from a pitcher tonight. Is a guy like Giolito, the chat's talking about him, someone that you'd have in an MME setting?
Chat talking about the extreme pitchers umpire, and that's bumping him up. But what does it matter when San Diego's just going to put the ball in play in every single at bat?
Yeah, Tim, what's like, I've scrolled down to the bottom here. I mean, this is just ugly. Garrett, no. Fetty, definitely not. I'm all over the Marlins, even though the Marlins lineup's watered down. All over the Marlins every way possible today from a sports betting perspective. Perkins, maybe, even if you get 4 innings out of him at 5,600, if you want to stack expensive offenses tonight, I think maybe he's in play a little bit more.
I'd rather play Blake Snell over Giolito. And yeah, I'm not high on Snell at all.
Snell has 10 strikeout upside and Giolito does not.
Right. And then if I didn't want to be at that price point, I would just go lower to obviously the popular Erod or Cantillo, or even somebody like Joe Boyle at 5,900. Like, I don't see any ceiling with Lucas Giolito, in this spot. So I would not be paying $8,500 for him.
I'm with you, too. Just a lot of landmines, I think, out there overall tonight. I think my pitching pool would be pretty slim. What are there? 22 pitchers. I might have, if I was doing MME, maybe like 8 to 10 max pitchers out there tonight. I just think you want to cross off a lot of those guys. Don't see many of them getting, even 15 fantasy points out there tonight. So that's some of the pitching we were looking at today. TJ, I'm going to go over to you for offense. Let's take a look at some of what the stacks are going out here tonight. And it's a lot of the same that we're used to. Who's hitting against Colorado? Arizona leading in ownership tonight. There's a couple of other, we've got the Royals out here. The Cardinals, I'm not understanding completely. I know they're cheap. Maybe as a full stack, don't really want them too much as a one-off. I don't think I'd be on them as high as the field is tonight. The Guardians are drawing a lot of ownership against the White Sox today. You've got 2 high potent offenses against questionable pitching in Baltimore with the A's and the O's. What are you looking at? Obviously, everyone's going to be trying to get Arizona. I'm really focusing on the Baltimore and A's game. I think even from a cash game perspective today, these guys are all a little bit too cheap, and I think their performance is going to be pretty good tonight from those two. So what are you looking at in these large field tournaments? That's you, TJ.
So for me, I'm looking at Arizona as my top team, but it's fairly one of the reasons why I'm taking this big stand at pitcher is because there's nothing that really stands out that aggressive for me at bats. We have St. Louis and the Cubs that have this by far the high, best pitching, best hitting weather. Why was that so hard to say? Hitting weather on the slate. But still, I'm not overly enamored by either of those spots. Arizona, Milwaukee, the Athletics, those I think are my top 3 overall picks yesterday or overall. Sorry, I'm getting distracted with about it. There's compliments in chat. I appreciate you guys for the Cabrera props. But my ADHD is getting the best of me. Arizona, Milwaukee Athletics, my top 3. My sneaky stacks today that I really like getting to, the Marlins, who I've been playing a ton of lately. I don't really understand why they're not picking up any ownership going against Eric Fetty. Maybe it's because they're only on one of the 2 sites. Can't play them on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I really, really love the Marlins for tournaments. Getting some Dodgers, getting some Blue Jays against Snell. We know when Snell looks really bad, he can be really, really bad. And so I like me some Blue Jays today. Seattle at super low ownership. There's a few of these teams that I'm going to be significantly under the field on, like you were talking about St. Louis. I'll be under on them as well. Atlanta, I'm going to be heavily underweight on. Baltimore, I'll be heavily underweight on. But for the most part, I'm just mixing and matching my stacks, and that's one of the reasons I'm keeping such a tight pool and fading a lot of these expensive pitchers.
Yeah, Tim, where are we drawing from cash games? I mean, I'm looking at it's Orioles, it's A's, it's a couple Cleveland guys, it's Arizona. That's probably about it. You can mix in an Ohtani. Muncie's really cheap on DraftKings in comparison to what he costs on FanDuel. Don't really have to, go too out of the box today. There's enough cheap plays to get the guys you want for offense.
Yeah, I mean, the first team that I was going to attack in cash games is going to be the Dodgers, just because Muncie is a clear-cut cash game play, and so is Ohtani. So those first 2 guys, I think, should be your first 2 guys in a cash game build. But yeah, definitely getting to quite a bit of Cleveland today in all formats. They're my primary stack in my single entry team, so I really do love the Guardians tonight. Anytime we can stack against Sean Burke, I really try to take advantage of that, just because I think that he's a really, really below average pitcher, and this Guardians team is really affordable, so you can do pretty much any pitching combo that you want and play this Cleveland team. So I'm really high on Miami, and they're getting talked about a little bit, but I don't think they're going to get that steamed. Eric Fetty is pretty terrible, so this is definitely a good spot for Miami. They would be my definitely like in a large field GPP. I'd definitely be attacking them quite a bit. I guess I'm just not as high on the Cardinals as other people. I do know that Donovan was also scratched just now, so he's out of the lineup. So make sure to get him out of your builds. And Thomas Sagasi got added to the lineup, so that is just one thing of note with them. I guess I'm really not as high on them as most people are. But that, obviously Arizona too. If you can get to pieces of them, that's fine. It's going to be tough to go that DeGrom Lazardo build and play Diamondbacks. Just because they're really expensive. I'm not saying not to play the Diamondbacks, but they are pretty expensive tonight. I really pretty much only like Carroll and Marte. I guess I'm really not super into that entire stack. And then I guess I already talked about the Dodgers. They're definitely fine in any format. And I don't mind that Mariners call either. I don't mind taking shots on Joe Boyle, but he's got horrible control, which can just add to the ceiling of a stack. So I don't mind the Mariners in the GPP.
All right, that was some pitching and some basic offense, more from a team perspective. 2 things I want to talk about. TJ, first, we've got Spidey Bombs. We're already at almost 60 likes, if not more. What are we looking at for the Spidey Bombs today?
We do got some Spidey Bombs coming for the people. We're already over 50 likes. So that means we got the first one. We'll drop the second one at 100 likes. So keep hitting that like button. But let me double check the odds real quick here. This was a Spidey Bomb yesterday who did not hit, but that's because he was saving it for today at plus 400. Kyle Stowers, Spidey Bomb number 1. Really like Miami today. Really like Kyle Stowers as a one-off or as part of the stack and as a home run bet as well at plus 400. So Kyle Stowers, Spidey Bomb number 1. Second one coming at 200 likes. So keep hitting that, or 100 likes. Sorry, at 100 likes. So keep hitting that like button. And I do want to give a shout out in chat to my guy Dean Williams.
right?
wanted
Not
you wanted
the
me to
Dean
say
we
it.
normally have here at RotoGrinders, but another Dean. Deans are always welcome here at RotoGrinders.
We love our Deans here at RotoGrinders.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys too about Fantasy Labs, your home for season-long fantasy football and best ball content. You can get access to rankings, projections, and articles from Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon, two big names, very smart people for football. I think I said this the last time I was on the show. I have a very narrow, after doing this for, I don't know, 15 years it seems like now, I have narrowed down very specifically the people I need opinions on for football, both in season and season long. Those are two of them right there. You can sign up now with code RG15 for $15 off over at Fantasy Labs. Highly recommend anything those two put out. All right, let's go to position by position. We'll start at catcher, Tim. And it's like Bo Naylor at 2,600 on DraftKings is I think he's very easily going to be the highest owned catcher. He just fits into what you want to do, especially if you want to use one high price pitcher, if not two. It's against the White Sox. He's got a good lineup spot. The other one I would want to play, I forgot to mention, a team I would like to play tonight as a snack that I don't think many people are, is the Royals. Ober he was horrible before he went on the IL. He came back. He was horrible off the IL. He's someone I would like to target. The Minnesota bullpen is garbage now. They got rid of everybody. So I'm on a Royals stack, I think, for tournaments today. But Perez being the highest owned catcher, I don't know. I think it's going to be Naylor overall.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Naylor also. I also think that Langolier's ownership is going to be a little bit higher than what we currently have as well. I currently have Langoliers in single entry. I have Bo Naylor in cash. So we're pretty much on the same page. I don't think Sal Perez will be the highest owned catcher. If he is, right around that same price point, Adley Rutschman at 4,100. I think I might even prefer over Perez. So this position is actually pretty good tonight. Augustin Ramirez at 4,200. I think he's a great play as well. Del Castillo, I don't know. He might be fairly high owned too, just because Arizona is going to be fairly high owned. He's fine in any format. But yeah, this is a pretty good position. But I would go Bo Naylor most likely in cash.
All right. I want to ask you too, FanDuel, you've got Langoliers is 3,300. Vlad, I know the bat loves Vlad today, but the Vlad, I'm on the over in that Dodgers game, but I think Party has that at like 11.5 total in that game. So that's boosting up quite a bit of the stats on there. Would you rather play Langoliers or Vlad at first base?
It's a pretty significant difference in projection with Vlad and Langoliers. The bat really wants you to play Vlad. I think I'd rather play Langoliers. I might even find the money for Nick Kurtz, to be honest with you. And I do really like Kyle Lazardo at 3K over on FanDuel.
Yeah, I like all those. I did manually override Langoliers over Vlad, and Kurtz also looks very good on FanDuel, even on DraftKings too. Kurtz is out of this world. TJ, anyone you're looking home run hunting? I don't know. I think catcher is reasonably deep tonight, just full of players like you're not thrilled to click, but there's quite a few options out there.
Yeah, and one of the it's so fun paying down at pitcher before the slate starts. You know, when you're just looking at your exposure to your batters, and you're not seeing those low scores your cheap pitchers are probably going to put up yet. And so I get to look and I see Cal Raleigh is my highest owned catcher today, and I just love him in this spot at super low ownership. And then Shea Langoliers, Hunter Goodman coming in right behind them. And so one of the beauties of playing, super cheap pitchers is that you get to spend up at all of these positions. And Cal Raleigh is definitely my top guy. If I can't get up there, Langoliers and Goodman are my next favorites. I like the Augustin Ramirez call. Bo Naylor is definitely the best cheap option today. And then a couple other tournament options I like: Alejandro Kirk, Adley Rutschman, Sal Perez. You are muted.
Sorry, I had a big sneeze while you were talking there. First base, Tim. So I mentioned Langoliers on FanDuel. I really like him. DraftKings, it's like I want to spend up it. Like I want an Ohtani. You can play him in the outfield. I want a Nick Kurtz at 6,100. Maybe not a Vlad. I want Kurtz or Ohtani, but man, they just don't fit onto the way you want to build teams. I think overall on DraftKings tonight, at least from a cash perspective, a guy
that's
like
why that's why it's sketchy to double spend up in cash, and that's why I'm going Lazardo and Erod. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I want to get to a couple of these premium bats, and you can only do that if you save at SP2. Yeah. So I think Ohtani is a priority play today. Kurtz is definitely a fantastic play in GPPs, even single entry or whatever. But I think Ohtani is the far superior play here. And I agree with you. I think this is a spend up position. The only person that I would consider as a spend down would be Kyle Lazardo at 3,500. But I think in cash, you should be playing Ohtani.
What about Ohtani in the outfield versus first base? Where are you finding the spot for him?
I think he should be played probably at first, but I mean, I think just having him in your lineup is the most important thing. I currently have him at first.
All right. I'm just looking, Manzardo's 3,500 if you're going cheap. And if you look at the $3,500 outfielder, basically a 1v1 position swap, something like that. There's nothing really there. So I'm finding Ohtani more in the outfield with a Manzardo. I don't really want to play Manzardo. He's just cheap enough to fit in, and the matchup is just good enough at the $3,500 price tag for me to like him. So
yeah, I'm going through some of the bat optimals. The bat primarily has Ohtani in the outfield, so you're probably right there.
Yeah, well, I think the bat's high on probably Manzardo too. Cardi and the bat really like.
No, the bat is spitting out Vlad big time.
Yeah, well, again, if you like the over, I do like the over. I would probably have the line at 9, not 8.5, but I think Cardi had it around 11.5, which is huge.
Wow.
A Blake Snell game. We'll see how that goes tonight. We're both. I think I don't know if we posted.
The bat has always hated Blake Snell, though.
Yes, the volatility of a Blake Snell start can be, I think, plays into that quite a bit. And he wasn't great until that last start, at least at the Major League Baseball level. Anyway, TJ, first base. Maybe you can, if you had to pick Ohtani, I think Kurtz, Corbin Carroll. Like, what's your priority spend tonight, TJ, if you have to pick one of these high expensive bets?
Ohtani and Carroll are coming in higher for me than Kurtz. I'm getting about 18% Nick Kurtz, and I have 28% each of Corbin Carroll and Shohei Ohtani. So Kurtz is coming in as a little bit behind Ohtani and Carroll for me. But I am still getting to a lot of Vlad at this position. I'm getting to a lot of Freddie Freeman. I like the idea of playing Freeman here at first base and then playing Ohtani in the outfield. Tyler Locklear is probably going to be my favorite cheap option. Don't mind some Vinny P, some Ryan Mountcastle or Manzardo. Those guys are fine. But the other super low owned guy I'll be taking some shots on is Warming Bernabel for the Rockies. I don't mind a little bit of some Rockies in large field tournaments tonight.
All right, let's go to second base here. Finding myself, what do we got? We got Schneemann. Schneemann for Cleveland, just too cheap on both sites with a good lineup spot going up against the White Sox. Probably where you want to go. I think Westberg, what is he? He's second/third on FanDuel, so you can move him around if you're looking to get access to some Baltimore bats is also pretty good. But I don't know, Tim, the difference, a $1,900 price difference between Schneemann and Westberg seems a little off. So to me, Schneemann's probably like if you're just picking price per dollar, cash game play, single entry, probably the play I think most people are going to be going to.
Yeah, I have Schneemann in cash and in my primary single entry team. So I'm really leaning on him heavily tonight. 3,100 on DraftKings seems just really, really affordable. But there are some pretty good second base options on the slate. Ketel Marte, definitely the top raw point guy. 6,100 is quite expensive, but I think this matchup is a really, really solid one for Arizona. And they have the highest implied team total. So he's completely fine if you have the money. Jackson Holiday at 4,400, Jordan Westberg at 5K. Both of those Baltimore options I think are really solid. Don't forget about Brandon Lau at 4,800. I think he's a pretty decent large field GPP play. Same thing with Xavier Edwards. So I mean, this position is actually pretty decent tonight.
Yeah, I think it is looking pretty good. TJ, you have a couple favorites, and I think we're getting close to 100 likes, guys. A couple of you click it more. We can get Spidey Bomb 2 at the end of the segment.
Well, I might not even make the people wait because my highest owned bat today is Ketel Marte, and he is also Spidey Bomb number 2 at plus 390. So I'm getting to a lot of Ketel Marte today. About 30% of my lineups. I do really like this position, though. Like Tim said, I think there are a lot of great cheap options. Daniel Schneemann being the best one with Luke. I really like Luke Keeschall and for the Twins and Lennon Sosa for the White Sox. So those are going to be my favorite cheap options. But I'm either going cheap with those three all the way up to Ketel Marte or Xavier Edwards in the middle. I like quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to join you on a Ketel Marte home run. I'm going to find that out here in the wild somewhere. I got to get in a couple of dollars on that one. Like that one quite a bit. All right, let's roll over to third base. We mentioned Max Muncy on DraftKings, like he's the guy, Tim. My question for you is he the guy for you on FanDuel as well? Also reasonably priced, but there's a couple other people right around his price that you would want to consider. Anything to say on the FanDuel part?
Yeah, it's definitely a more tricky decision on FanDuel just because you've got Westberg at 31. It's only $700 more for Jose Ramirez. So it's kind of a trickier decision. I think that, I think it's still you go Max Muncy in cash games, but I prefer Jose Ramirez in GPPs. He's my third baseman on my single entry team on DraftKings just because I'm full 5-manning Cleveland. So Jose Ramirez is my guy tonight, but Muncy's definitely the play on both sites in cash. Like I mentioned at second base, Jordan Westberg, he would be like a more like GPP pivot type play. And then just like with Brandon Lau, don't forget about Junior Caminero. I think he's a pretty solid GPP play as well. I guess you could get to some Manny Machado. I don't really like Giolito that much, but I think getting to some of these San Diego bats would be okay for large field stuff.
You mentioned Ramirez and Caminero both popping at the optimal, according to SimLabs, at least on I don't know if it's the absolute latest ownership projections. I'll refresh, but both of those look like really good plays. Love Jose Ramirez tonight if you can get to him. But I think Max Muncy in the mix along with Jordan Westberg on FanDuel for me. TJ, what are we doing at third base for tournaments overall? This is the early slate. Let's get the main slate back up there. If Muncy and Ramirez are eating up, let's say 30-ish% of the ownership, I think they're going to be pretty. I think Muncy will certainly edge out like our ownership projections are saying here. Do you have a preference between those? Spend in the middle, spend all the way up, and then anyone else you're looking for a big night?
Yeah, Muncy on DraftKings, where he's priced down, is the clear best play there. On FanDuel, he's priced up a little bit, but on DK, he should be $1,500 more expensive. So we should just keep playing him while he's there. Because I'm spending down so much a pitcher, I do actually have a little bit more Jose Ramirez than Max Muncy, but I have 19% Ramirez, 18% Muncy. Outside of that, it's just going to be guys in stacks for me. Like I'm getting to some Jordan Westberg and some Eugenio Suarez as spend ups, getting us Curtis Mead as a punt, Ernie Clement is a cheap option, Blaze Alexander is a cheap option, but Jose Ramirez and Muncy are like the clear two top guys. If you're spending up, go Ramirez. If you're not, go Muncy.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward overall position at third base. So let's hop over to shortstop. All right, Tim, let's factor in salary. Let's factor in a couple other things here. Who's your shortstop at the top? You've got Bobby Witt or probably Gunnar Henderson. That's what our ownership projections are saying. I would agree with those. Which one is in? I think Witt's in the best spot, but you have to pay more for him. So where does Witt rank in the terms of the players you want to roster tonight? Would you rather roster, like, let's say you had to choose one of these and think about positions, Ohtani, Bobby Witt, or maybe like a Kurtz or somebody like that at first base? Who, like, what's your priority if you kind of factor in positions? Where are you spending the money?
Yeah, it's not going to be at short tonight. I'm not going to be playing Bobby Witt in cash games or single entry. I'm not going to fault anybody if they want to do that. It's obviously fine. You know, he's great in GPPs, but he's not going to be a cash game guy. Neither is Henderson, or even guys like you know, Lindor, Bo Bichette. None of these guys are going to be hitting my cash game builds tonight. I don't mind Otto Lopez at 3,600. Probably not a cash game play either, but I mean, I think this is the price range. Tovar, I think, is okay. I currently have Gabriel Arias at 2,300, batting sixth. I mean, it's kind of gross, but I just don't think shortstop's the priority spent tonight. And of course, that's a good way, perhaps, to get a little bit of leverage in GPPs. Is that not a lot of people might not be spending up at this position? So grabbing one-offs here as part of your GPP portfolio might be a good idea. But currently, I have Arias in single entry and cash games.
Yeah, Arias is basically, this is where I think your lineups are, where your whole lineup comes together on DraftKings tonight. Is if you use Arias at shortstop, then you can get an Ohtani, a Soto, a Carroll. You can probably get two of those guys in the outfield. You can get Kurtz. You can get a Spen. You can get a Jose Ramirez. So this is basically the point. So you're saying you would rather do Arias over a Gunnar or a Bobby Witt in order to get some of those other guys, Tim? Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, or a Tovar or Lopez, I think, if you don't want to go all the way down to Arias. But yeah, I'm not prioritizing any of those premium shortstops.
All right, TJ, to you, tournaments. Are you on the premium guys, or are you going to like an Arias at 2,300 that's opening up? You're already going cheap pitching. I'm going to imagine you probably have less Arias than I think Tim would probably be on.
I mean, I'm still going to be over the field on Arias. I have 12% of him right now, but my highest owned is Bobby Witt, just because I am spending down at pitching today, so I'm getting to a lot of Bobby Witt. But Arias is my second highest owned at shortstop. I prefer Bo Bichette over Gunnar Henderson today for large field tournaments. I'm getting to a lot of Geraldo Perdomo, a lot of Ezequiel Tovar. And I don't mind in my A stacks playing some Daryl Hernandez here at shortstop.
Great. So there's a couple options. Your shortstop. All right, let's go to the outfield. Tim. So Ohtani, if you had, he seems to be your priority over a Corbin Carroll, over a Juan Soto tonight. So Ohtani's like the guy for you. TJ, would you say the same if you had to pick one guy tonight? Is it Ohtani over the other guys at any other position?
Yep.
All right, so we're both in agreement on there. I think he's a little more attainable on DraftKings specifically because he's 6,400, Corbin Carroll 6,300. There's a little bit of a difference on FanDuel, but I think I would also prioritize Ohtani over Carroll tonight. So Tim, where does that leave you with the rest of them? Let's kind of start maybe the next tier. Juan Soto or Corbin Carroll. $400 difference there. Does $400 do anything for you if you're kind of choosing between the two?
No, like when we were talking about like Vlad or Nick Kurtz, like really it was, for me, it's Ohtani and Corbin Carroll are my two premium spends. That's why I'm not paying up at first. That's why I'm not paying up at shortstop, because I want to get to Corbin Carroll tonight. Just this matchup is really, really good. I prefer Carroll over Soto. Soto's fine for tournaments, obviously, but I think it's Corbin Carroll is the premium play here. He and Ohtani.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that too. So then, like the next tier, what else are you doing? Because if you're using Ohtani and Carroll, you're probably going to need a cheap guy. Grichuk is the guy that's showing up with a high ownership here. He's hitting, he's fifth tonight or sixth, one of the two for Kansas City tonight. And he's in there against the righty. He's going to be in there the whole game. You would expect if he's starting against the righty, they're not going to pinch hit him or anything like that. So the ownership is showing him. Is he the cheap guy? Because I think there's some, maybe this is more of a tournament perspective when Grichuk, and you can kind of see it, already one of the higher negative players out there, optimal minus projection. There's other guys who are even cheaper or right around his price, specifically on DraftKings, that I don't know. They might just be just as good with 90, so much less ownership than Grichuk is going to draw tonight. So is he the guy for you?
I'd be playing Jacob Marcy.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like the Marlins quite a bit. So I mean, 2,900 for him batting fifth, I think is a really solid play. I mean, Grichuk might be technically safer, I guess, but I mean, he's only half a point behind Grichuk in the bat projection. So I mean, it's really not that much of a difference. It's I think I would definitely go Marcy in GPP and single entry over Grichuk, especially if Grichuk's going to be like the consensus like punt in optimals. I don't really like that much. So I'd rather go Marcy or CJ Kafis at 2,100 for Cleveland.
Yeah,
and then
he's the other guy.
There's also Alec Thomas too. There's also Alec Thomas, but I think he's okay. But I prefer going the Kafis or Marcy.
All right. So you've got Martin too from the Twins, but there's almost no power.
Yep.
Yeah, there's like no power upside with him. And he used to be a speedster in the minors like 2 or 3 years ago. But that's also gone. So he's really just like he's going to get a couple of singles and a couple of runs is really what you're hoping for out of him. So not a ton of upside, but he's 2,100. Probably I think I'd play Kafis. I'd play him for a little bit more upside on a tournament than even hitting seventh over Martin from Minnesota today. TJ, I guess we're talking about all these cheap plays here. Let's talk that first and maybe work backwards. So let's start with Grichuk and some of these other cheap plays. What are a couple of your favorites for tournaments today?
Marcy, my number one option here in the outfield for cheap options by a fairly wide margin. Daniel Schneemann, you can play here in the outfield as well. I really like Isaac Collins. Don't mind Michael Taylor for a really cheap option in the outfield today as well, but in a bit of a better spot in the batting order than he usually is. Obviously, Carroll and Ohtani up top. If you don't have quite as much salary, my preference is going to be Kyle Stowers. I like Brent Rooker a little bit. Christian Yelich getting to a ton in tournaments. And then the A's guys, Soderstrom, Butler. That's about it.
Let's get those likes up. Spidey Bomb number 3 is at 150, and I'm only seeing like 110, something like that. TJ, these guys are slacking. Let's start hitting that like button. Let's get up there towards the end of the show. We can get Spidey Bomb number 3. I want to see what TJ's thinking about. So with all that said, I think we covered most everything. We have lots of time here. We're going to take some questions from YouTube, from the Discord. You can talk pretty much anything you want. I think we have enough time to talk DFS, and we can BS a little bit too, I think, over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to work my way backwards from YouTube, and then I'll go over to the Discord. Flying Armbar wants to know, FanDuel pitchers for cash and GPP. He came in a little late. Tim, why don't you give me like a minute on pitching for the people?
Sure. Jesus Lazardo is going to be my cash game pitcher for FanDuel. I think for GPP, you could go Erod, Joey Cantillo. I'm not really that high on DeGrom or Snell, but they are viable. So really it would be Erod or Cantillo if you didn't want to play the chalkier Lazardo. But I think Lazardo is your guy for cash games. Other than that, if I was like spreading out for GPPs, maybe get a pinch of Noah Cameron. I don't really love him, but he's an okay play at 8,900. I don't think you can play Michael King just because of pitch count. I wouldn't be touching Bailey Ober either. So yeah, it would be Lazardo and cash, and then Erod's probably my favorite for GPP.
TJ, it looks like a lot of people also coming in a little late, need some pitching recap. What's your ownership look like right now? I know your strategy was to sort of avoid the higher end names for some of the mid-tier and cheap pitching. Is it still like that towards the end of the show after you've run anything? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I ended up with 45% Sandy Alcantara, 45% Joey Cantillo. Those are going to be my two favorites. I do still kind of feel like I would personally lean the Lazardo DeGrom way from a cash game setting. But in tournaments, the ownership for Lazardo, DeGrom, and Blake Snell is just not something I'm comfortable with in terms of what we're projecting right now. So I'm going 0% of them in large field tournaments. Alcantara and Cantillo, my 1A and 1B. Cantillo would be my favorite if I was only choosing one of them. And again, for the people playing FanDuel today who were questioning that earlier, the pricing is almost exactly the same on both sites today. The only difference is Blake Snell is not at all playable on FanDuel, which I wouldn't play him on DraftKings either. And DeGrom is better than Lazardo because of the price gap on FanDuel, the lack thereof, I should say. But I'm going with the cheap pitchers today personally. Alcantara and Cantillo, number 1, number 2. Noah Cameron, Eduardo Rodriguez, my next tier of guys that I'm getting to. And then I'm also taking shots on the super cheap options of Joe Boyle and Jack Perkins.
All right, Tim, we got a single entry tournament. You are probably the one most, forget the word that I'm trying to say here. You're the best one to ask about this. These are the games you dial in on. For FanDuel, Riley wants to know Royals or A's if you got to pick one.
I would go the A's.
I think the A's too. Do you think the A's are pretty reasonably priced on FanDuel? Do you think they're gonna, like, you can get them and a high price pitching? Do you think they're gonna end up being reasonably high owned over there? I like KC as a sneaky tournament stack, although I don't know. There's generally not a lot of power. It's more of a play against Bailey Ober.
Right.
Well, I guess Kurtz keeps the ownership down because he's so expensive over there. I would play the A's for sure, but if you're looking for like the sleeper, that no one else will be on in the single entry, I think the Royals make a good fit.
I think Kurtz is going to be relatively popular on FanDuel. He's currently 21% for projected ownership.
Yeah,
so
you can get
yeah, I mean, I still like the Athletics more than KC.
Flying Armbar. Any Cubs love tonight? We didn't really talk about him. Suzuki's 4,800 on DraftKings, or 4,900. He fits a lot of lineups. He's the 4,000 to 5,000 tier is it's always like no man's land, and especially tonight because you can get Ohtani, a Carroll, and then there's a cheap play. TJ, what's your Cubs ownership look like for MME? We didn't really talk about them too much. They're against one of the highest ground ball rate pitchers in the league. Are they worth a stack tonight?
Yeah, I don't worry too much about the ground ball nature of Palante just because how fly ball heavy the Cubs lineup is, but they've just been scuffling a little bit lately. And so I've been playing them a lot and it hasn't been going well. So that's weighing on me a little bit, probably bringing down my exposure a little bit, but phenomenal weather with a bunch of fly ball hitters. So I do absolutely think they're in play if you're spending down a pitcher today.
All right. Tim, we've got from the RotoGrinders Discord, they're asking you specifically favorite FanDuel low-owned stack, and then your favorite pitcher if you got to pick a singular pitcher on FanDuel tonight.
I think number 1 would be Erod and the Guardians.
Like both of those tonight. Oh yeah, you see in there. You did answer. All right. I'm just blind to see that you actually answered that in chat. I see a couple other people typing. We'll get to those. Let's see here. Favorite outfielder, 5,400 or less on DraftKings tonight. So I mentioned it's no man's land out there tonight. So the 5,400 tier, TJ, I'll start with you, is like Tatis, Arozarena, Simpson, Yelich, Suzuki, maybe some guys you might not want to use. Maybe Yelich is slightly interesting to me. Or do you want to go down to a Nimmo, Butler back leading off, a Soderstrom? What's your favorite here? I think I'd probably find my way down to some of the A's there.
What's the price?
5,400 or less.
I'd go Yelich.
Yeah, I do like Yelich. What about Tatis against Giolito? I saw some people talking about Giolito. Tim, do you have any interest in Tatis?
I think they're fine. I think getting to some one-offs from San Diego is not bad.
Actually, yeah, sorry. I admit Tatis. I would do him. That's my bad.
Yeah, I'd probably play Tatis at 5,400, but I got to be honest. Tatis or Butler or Soderstrom, and you save $1,000 and you get to upgrade something, right? That looks much better to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a dead zone right there. If we were getting super technical,
Yeah.
but I think Tatis is the best overall play there.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we get a couple more questions. Let's see. Erod or Cantillo. So I think Erod for me for cash is my pitcher on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Would you, the ownership, what do you think? I think Erod's going to be more than like a percent on than Cantillo tonight. Tim, would you agree with me on that? Like Erod.
Are we talking FanDuel?
I'm looking at DraftKings ownership.
You're looking at DraftKings. Okay.
But I don't know. I think maybe it'll be a little bit wider of a spread. Like Cantillo in a tournament, especially a large field tournament, Erod's been, I don't know, he hasn't been, it's not Erod of what, 4 years ago when he was like a good pitcher. You know, he's not great. Right. It is the Rockies. Even Zach Gallen had a good game last night against the Rockies, which if you said that last year, you would expect that. But Gallen's been kind of off this year.
And that's the only reason why I'm pitching Erod is because it's the Rockies. You know, it's not because I have amazing faith in Erod as an amazing pitcher or anything. It's just it's just matchup based.
Yeah. I see Josh in YouTube. Butler or Soderstrom, if you got to pick between one of those two. I think Butler has a lot more pinch hit risk than he used to have. They're kind of swapping him around a little bit. I think I'd probably play Soderstrom.
Yeah. I would probably go Soderstrom also.
TJ, you got an answer on that one?
Soderstrom,
yeah, we're all in there. But, you know, I like Butler was kind of slumping and they moved him down in the lineup. He has like a good game or two. He's up at the top, but he kind of isn't like a timeshare. I don't know if that's true today now that he's back at the top of the lineup. But I think there's a little bit more risk to him being taken out if a lefty comes in than there used to be. Soderstrom, no problems with that. So I'll go with Soderstrom on that. Let's see. A couple more. Yeah, Charlie Morton is on the Tigers now. There's so many, like the trades here. What do you guys think of the trades? Like, so Atlanta, right? We saw this. Who was it with Wentz, right? They get him, then he starts throwing his best pitch quite a bit more. The problem with like Eric Fetty is he has no good pitches. So even if he throws it more, it's not any better. What do you do with like these trade guys who get moved to teams who like to tinker around? Like I'm not playing Eric Fetty expecting him to have like a bounce back because now he's with the Braves and they tinker with pitching a lot here. Does anyone how do you like account for that, Tim? I think I need to see it in a start or two before I start playing mind games on myself.
Yeah, I'm just such a big believer of like long-term numbers, long-term skill sets. Like I'm not going to fall for that stuff too early. It's hard to gauge tangible change, right? So I'm not going to fall for it, and I'll wait for it to prove me wrong.
All right, Blink 182 in the RotoGrinders Discord. He's hand building a large field tournament team. TJ, this is up your alley, but he's only got 3,000. He already has Marseille. What's your favorite cheap outfielder for
him? The same team to Hernandez.
So keep going Hernandez, add a little bit of correlation in there. Sounds fine to me too. So I like that quite a bit. Let's see any more. Armbar, favorite game or stacks for FanDuel? I think Tim mentioned Cleveland earlier. TJ, what are a couple of your favorite stacks if you're looking to build over on FanDuel today?
Favorite sneaky one for FanDuel would be the Brewers coming in at really low ownership today. I like Cleveland too quite a bit, but like Arizona Athletics, still my top options, but the Brewers would be my sneaky one.
Yeah, the Brewers. I was just gonna say the Marlins, but the Marlins aren't on the FanDuel slate.
Yeah,
the Brewers to me are like the team that I don't understand how they're not drawing. I know they're missing a couple of people, but they were so hot, and it's an opener and then Frankie Montas. Like that seems like a reasonable way to get a lot of runs scored today, right, Tim?
It seems like it.
Seems
like they should have a really good chance.
Brewers and Royals off the board are probably my favorite two little sneakier stacks if I had to pick a couple. I don't know. I think that's getting close to the end of the questions. If any more pop up, I'll answer them quick here. TJ, what do you want? You got another Spidey Bomb? How high did we get on the Spidey Bomb list? Are we there for number 3?
We are at 132 likes, so no can do.
132 guys. We need 18 more likes. I know you guys can do it. So in the meantime, let me give you let me go over to the scores and odds. I'm going to find a bet that I was on for tonight. If you guys want to tail me, Tim, you looking for anything in the streets tonight? You got any Tim Taters for the people?
The numbers are just really bad. I was looking at the Marlins for some taters, but the numbers are horrible, so I just can't do it. I was same thing with Arizona. I was looking for some taters, and it's just the numbers are just all bet, so it's not. I can't give it out.
Everything I bet on scores and wrote up on scores and odds is moved to the point. Maybe the Marlins. So they gave me a Marlins 1.5 run line for the first 5 to start the day. It's up to 2.5, but it's plus 124 on DraftKings. I would still play that. No problem. Betty, I think, what did I have here? He's allowed at least 3 earned runs in 8 of his last 9 starts, with all of those 8 being at least in the first 5 innings. So it's not like he's going deep and giving up, his 3rd run in the 6th or 7th inning. He's just getting hit hard 24/7. So that's probably be my one plus 125 over 2.5 team total for the Marlins in the first 5. Mess around in that first X innings on your DraftKings tab. You can go find those. I think Fanatics and maybe ESPN maybe have those too, but generally a little bit worse lines than DraftKings has. Favorite shortstop, FanDuel, cash, and tournaments. This maybe be the last or second to last question. So, Tim, favorite shortstop, cash, and tournaments, FanDuel.
For FanDuel, I guess I don't really want to pay up for Bobby Witt. I think Schneeman's better served at second base than short. I guess maybe I'd go Jackson Holiday for both. I think he's a good GPP and cash game play. I don't even mind Gabriel Reyes at 2,400. Because
he's a lot more in play on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. Is he on your FanDuel cash team, or are you somewhere else on FanDuel?
Well, I'm kind of going back and forth between like Henderson and Holiday. But I mean, again, it's not a position that I want to use a ton of salary at. So I think it's okay to punt with like a Schneeman or an Arias even on FanDuel.
It's Tovar for me.
I was gonna say or Tovar. If you're, yeah.
Well, Chili wants to know in YouTube, TJ, top 3 Rockies bats for a tournament. I mean, we're getting deep in the weeds here, but against Erod, one of the highest owned pitchers, would you get on board with a Rocky stack tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're a really interesting stack today. I would say Tovar, Freeman, and Goodman. Right. I honestly love them as a full stack on FanDuel because, like, Goodman at only 3K and as their most expensive player, I think the Rockies make for a good stack over there.
Yeah,
you can do like a Rocky stack with like Ohtani, Carroll, Marte, whoever the heck else you want on it because they're so cheap.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to be on Erod tonight. So if it does work out, I mean, you're already jumping a quarter of the field on both nights, just if something like that does work out, let alone having the bats on the other side of it. All right. I think we've answered all the questions. We're going to get out of here. TJ, enjoy your night. The dog. Is it PlayStation or Xbox? What's your preferred?
I'm a PS5 guy. I do have a PS5, Xbox Series S, and a Nintendo Switch 2. And so I'm technically an all of them guy, but PS5 is what I play the most.
All right. Are you waiting? I don't have PS5. I'm waiting for GTA 6 if it ever comes out again. I will legitimately buy a PS5 just for GTA when it comes out. So they'll really roll me in. I don't know how I'm going to have time to play, and I'm going to have to like sneak away or something like that to go do that. But I'm going to figure that out. Tim, if you had to choose PS5 or Xbox, if you were still in the video game streets.
My wife still plays Xbox all the time, so I guess we're an Xbox house.
All right, yeah, I'd probably go PS5. I haven't since the PS4. I haven't really touched video games in a while. I kind of miss it, but the kids, man, they take up a lot of time over here. Very, very active. All right, TJ, go enjoy some PS5. maybe going to the movies, whatever you're doing with your free time tonight. Tim, enjoy your night. Hope baseball goes well for all of you out there. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button on the way out. And for Tim and TJ, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, and we out ya.